Hey everybody, welcome to Poor Man's Guitar again. No guitar in my hand, eh? What's going on? This episode, I am just going to show you how you can remember the modes, because that seems to be one of the most difficult things with people, because they're not used to playing in a modal form with scales and so forth across the neck, so sometimes they can't remember where these patterns are. But if you've been watching my mode series from beginning to end, I explain all, like, through with little chit chats as I'm doing lessons on little tips and everything on how to remember what you can do to join the string, so forth, so forth. So in this next video, I am going to show you exactly how to always remember your modes. It's very simple, the patterns, because in a sense, it's not even going to matter, because guitar's a pattern, it's a pattern instrument. So these patterns will always apply no matter where you are, as long as you're like in the key of the song per se, right? So let's just say we got a song in G or something like that, because I've been showing the G Ionian and the modes from that, right? So let's say we got a song in G. Well, now I can play, I mean, it might not sound good but to your ears, but in theory we can play any of those scales G if we want, right? So, or modes I should say. I keep saying scales because I guess that's what everybody's used to hearing, but you can play any of the modes. So I could choose G Ionian, G Dorian, G Aeolian, G Lydian, whatever I want to play during that G. But like I said, it's all going to depend in what your flavors, because you got to remember they're majors and minors. So once you start interlocking with the minors, you got to sort of start changing your fingers around in a sense to not clash, I guess is the sound. Because if you're going to throw some kind of off thing in there, you got to be able to resolve back to that major G smooth and nice and whatever. But you'll get the hang of this in the next video I'm going to do after this, which is going to be applying the modes to a backing track, which I'm just going to not even really think. I'm not even going to think when I do it either. I'm just going to play modes, just random notes, and if it sounds good, sounds good. Doesn't. But it's the idea of it. Every note should sound okay in it. Okay, so anyways, watch this next little video here that's part of this, and I'll show you exactly how you can remember those modes. Okay, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye. Hey, here we go to this video now. So as I was saying there in the previous little chat there, everything works in a group. So what I'm going to show you here is how it all works in a group, and we're going to start with the Locrian here. It doesn't matter what I'm starting with, it's just this one's aesthetically easier on the eyes to kind of see what I'm talking about. Now I'm going to call this pattern our inside group, and I'm going to call this pattern here our outside group, and this are 3. Okay, so when I'm talking, I say 3, I'm talking that. Inside group is this, outside group's that. Okay, so now the patterns with the modes are all the same throughout. So you're going to have your inside group of 2, you're going to have your outside group of 2, and then you're going to have this group of 3. But let me warn you about the group of 3. The group of 3 usually comes in 3s. Okay, there's the exceptions that you'll see, but if I was to continue, I would be coming back again down to here, right? That would continue it more or less, because I'd be on the next mode. But so in other words, I just do a dot there, dot there, dot there. So it usually comes in 3s, and then we continue the inside group, outside group, 3 of the 3s, then inside group, outside group, 3 of the 3s. Okay, that's the entire pattern. Now you just have to be aware of some patterns are going to start with the 3, but then they'll then continue with this, then this, back to the 3 again type thing, okay? But you'll see what I'm talking about as we go. Just remember, you're always going 2 inside, 2 outside. These stay together, and so do these. So if I started with this, then that would be next, that would be next. If I started with this, that would be next, then this would be next, okay? But you'll see as we go along here, okay? So let's go to the next picture here. Just give me a second here, and there we go. So now we got our major Ionian scale, okay? So now, like I said, our last scale would have been ending like here, okay? So that would be, you can look at it as it's 1, and now we got another 2 group of 3 here that makes 3, okay? But notwithstanding, if you don't remember it like that, just remember which groups actually carry the 3 with them and which don't. But anyway, so if we just finished our locking over here, it would have ended right here, up like on these frets, right? So then we'd be starting our Ionian scale, our major scale again. So that would be 1 per se where the locking ended. Now we got another 2 groups right here. So there you go. So we have the 2 groups of 3. Now we have our 2 insides, and now we have our 2 outsides. Then you continue to the groups of 3 again. You know, that's basically it. It just stays the same throughout. You just got to remember when you're starting them, like it'll be a root note you're starting on per se. So this is G major scale, but this could be A major. We just shift the pattern over per se. You can even do it on a string down here if you want to start it. You just got to remember when you hit that B string, you got to move the 1 over. Always remember that. Okay, let's move on to the next one here. Now we have our Dorian scale, okay? That's a minor scale. Now let's look at this, okay? So we know our Ionian ended right over in here, right? So basically we ended with that pattern. So that's where our new pattern would begin per se, right? So here we go. So now we got the 1 outside group because our other one ended down here per se, right? This is just how you can kind of think of it, because remember it stays in groups of 2 and groups of 3 and with the 3s, and then another groups of 2 with the outside 2 or inside 2. Just remember that inside is 2, outside is 2, right? And then groups of 3 is groups of 3 usually, but you'll see what I mean. Okay, so now we started with the outside group, right? Because I said really our other one would have been ending with that, right? So now with our Ionian, so now we got, here's your group of 3 3s is what I was talking about, how it comes in 3s. Then we continue with our inside group. Now if you were to continue again, you would be going with another group like that with your outside group again. So you do 2 outside groups, 3 of those, 2 of those. Just remember that pattern. This is what the pattern always is. So it would be bang, 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 then your group of 3, then 2, then back to this again. It doesn't matter which way you started is what I'm getting at. You can start it with the 3 or start it with the inside 2 or outside 2, but just remember you got to continue it. So just remember, these 2 E's are the same at all times. The same notes, okay? So let's just clear that. And let's go to our next one here. So here we go with our Phrygian scale, okay? So again, we would have ended with the dan, 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 right? So now we'd have a group of 2 again. So this is our inside group of 2. So just remember, it's when we're on this string, remember which ones start with what. That's really all you got to remember, is which mode starts which way. But like I said, notwithstanding, your previous mode ends with the 1 group previous. So you're just kind of repeating it really in the same. So we got, here we go, we start this with 1 inside group, right? And then here we go again with our 2 outside group, and then guess what's next? 3 3s, right? And here we go, 3 3s, but because of the B string they had to shift, right? So 1, 2, 3, and then shift because of the B string. 1, 2, 3, right? And there you go. I hope you're starting to actually see these patterns, and it's going to help you. Let's go again here now to the Lydian scale. Let's try this one. So the scale mode previously before would have ended 1, 2, 3, right? So here we go. Now, this is where I'm talking about where your groups of 3 aren't necessarily going to come in now. So you just got to know which ones are going to start with the 3, okay, and then continue. So we would have had previous 3s there, right? Remember, the E string's the same. So before we had 2 and then E string, right? Let me show you here so you know what I mean. See, we have 1, 2, right? And then this is the E string, which is just going to be the same right now when I shift over again. Okay, so here's our group of 3, but this time we only do it once here, right? Only once on this one. But then again, what do? We go now with our inside 2, and guess what? I'll bet you it's outside 2 next, and it is, but because of the B string, we have to shift 1 over again. Remember that. Okay, then back to the 3 again. Do you see what I mean? Are you starting to see the patterns? It's always 2 inside, 2 outside, 3 3s. Might not be 3 3s depending on where we are, but you'll get used to it is what I'm saying. Just remember, at least there's going to be 2 or 3 unless you're starting with it up like this. But you'll see as you're doing the modes, if you've been doing the modes, believe me, it just takes a day to really, okay, I remember. As long as you sit there and practice it. And then every day when you wake up, warm your fingers up just doing the modes. And you'll never forget these because that's your warm-up exercise, right? Okay, so let's go again here to our next scale, our Mixolydian Scale. And here we go. Look, starts with the 3, so we got the groups of 3, 3 again. What do you think's next? I will bet it's 2 inside groups, and sure enough it is. But remember, B string, you gotta shift, right? And then what's next? The outside groups. There you go. But because obviously for the sake we got no more strings, but you would have another one there per se if we had another tune string with this going down per se, right? So let's clear that and let's move to our next, the Aeolian Scale, everybody's favorite scale. Okay, now look again here. Here's our groups of 2, and it starts with the outside 2. Okay, so we know after outside 2, what happens? It's groups of 3, 3, as long as it allows it, right? As long as it's not ending, the strings aren't ending, like obviously you couldn't do groups of 3 here because the string ends, so you could only do 2, right? And what was always after groups of 3? 2 inside groups, but since we end, it only allows for the 1 inside group. You're starting to get this, right? I hope so. Okay, and let's move on to our next one. Back to the Locrian. Okay, this would be the last mode. I started with this one first only because I told you it's aesthetically easier on the eyes to see the pattern. So again, this one starts with the inside group of 2. That one starts with the outside group 2. And then here we go with the 3, 3 again. But since there is no other string, it only goes to 2. Okay, so now let me see if I got this other diagram here. I did stick it in. Okay, so, and that's what she said. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, so now you can see here's where our scale is, right? So we started with the G Ionian Scale is what we did for our mode series here. So here we got our 2, then our groups, then our groups. So if you start to look around, you can start to see it all. You take a look. I'm just giving you a second so you can kind of just take a look at it before I continue talking more. Okay, so now let's I'm just going to choose right here. So here we go. So we'd have another group of 3 here, and then we would have 2 inside groups here. Because it's the B, you got to shift, right? And then we'd start with the outside group of 2, right? So again, let's look at this one where we start our G Ionian. Well, we know it only has the 2 that it starts with. Then what's next? 2 inside groups. What's after 2 inside groups? 2 outside groups. So you should start to see how this is going now. So let's do right here. So do you see how this is a 2 inside group, 2 outside group, 3s, right? Let's clear that. Now, let's say I wanted to start here again. We're going to restart it. Here we go again. You would go to your 2 here, your 2 there, and then your 2 there, right? And like I said, it's everywhere. You can start. Okay, here's the same scale here, just down on the neck. But you can start this anywhere you want. I could go down here and start and go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you skip over, right? So 1, 2, 3 per se or whatever, and you keep skipping over, right? Because it's the B string. So you got to be careful of the skips and stuff like that, okay? This skips automatically once, so you got to remember that's going to be a double skip more or less. You got to be careful of things like that, okay? So that's really about it. So in short, let's see if I got this other one here too. I do. Okay, so in short here, here's our scale. 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3, because we know the Ionian starts like that. 1, 2, 3, because remember it's 2 inside groups, right? And then where is it? Is it here? You know, and so forth, right? So that's really all it is just, remember, it's just a bang, bang, bang. We could, you know, bang, 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 then bang, 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 bang. Sorry for the kind of dummy drawing there, but you get it. Like I just want to make sure you get it, right? So it doesn't matter where you started. I could do the 2 inside groups here if I want, right? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter where you're going to start it, and then you do the 2 outside groups, right? And what comes after that? Oh, the 3s. That's right. Okay, so that's all you got to remember is if this allows for it, you'll usually have 3 pairs of those, if it allows for it in our mode. But we know because the GI only has the 2 that it goes with. But you're going to find you have the Mixolydian stuff like that, right? That will have 3 and stuff. But anyways, that's it. And I hope you do get the gist of everything I've been showing here. Like I said, just try to go over the patterns and take these patterns anywhere. Like take from the Ionian scale and start it anywhere on the neck now. Any string, like come down to here and start it and go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Remember, you got to skip when you come to the B, right? And then continue the pattern and see if you're still hearing it. You know what I mean? Like, are you hearing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti? And then this would be re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You know, so forth. Are you hearing that, right? So that's how you can always remember the patterns. Just groups of 3s, and then we have our inside groups and then our outside groups, and they always go like that, providing you're starting on the root note, right? Okay, so that's pretty well it. So now if you want to play like this is our A Dorian, you can shift this over and call it G Dorian now. You know what I mean? And play it. Like, no matter where you're going to play the root note, that's the scale it's going to become. So really, I could just stay here with my hand and play A Ionian, then go A Dorian, and then whatever scale I want. Aeolian, A Mixolydian. Just stay right there, but just do the patterns that they actually are, so you get used to it. But that's it. You just remember how it goes. Remember the groups. The inside two, outside two, and then the threes. So usually they're in groups of threes or the two, you know, depending where it is. But you'll get used to it if you follow the mode series and you do these as warm-ups every day. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I hope this helps. And I'll be showing a few, I guess, other little tricks with the modes too after this. Actually, I'm going to show a backing track I have. I think it's the one in A minor, but it doesn't matter. I can make it whatever key I want if you use the program I showed in a previous video of software I use and stuff that really every musician should have, or one like it anyways. Okay, so I'll see you in the next episode. It should be about actually applying the modes with a backing track. If not, then it'll be at some point, and it'll be another video depending on I guess what I feel is priority in the next day or so. Okay, so you guys take care, and I hope you learned something here on how to remember these modes. And any questions, just let me know. Okay, bye-bye.